to sing to Kyle 4 years ago right here. You introduced him to us. Where's he made his greatest strides, and you've got to feel very happy with what he's done with the Marlies and your belief in him 4 years ago to where he is right now.
Yeah, I just think it's, in watching Kyle, like he said, it's, he came in here with a great knowledge and a great sort of work ethic. But I think just having the ability to glean from some of the people that have been around here with him, and just even in the NHL with other teams and some of the people he's been able to rub elbows with at the professional level, dealing with players, dealing with families, dealing with a lot of the stuff that isn't necessarily seen. I've always had great respect for his knowledge of players and finding good players. But I think for the role of general manager, whether it's an NHL team or an American Hockey League team, it's a lot of the stuff that the cameras don't catch and that don't make necessarily a hockey game that go into the preparation that I've been really impressed with.
Well, can you talk about some of those things? Like, what were some of the things when you first met Kyle that kind of made you realize this is somebody we want to be a part of our organization?
Well, I liked the way he thought. I liked, there seems to be in the hockey world, and I don't know why. I think it's sort of crazy, this fight between analytics and old school, and to me it's a silly fight because the smartest people I've met in hockey are the ones that have seamlessly found a way to sort of bridge the two. And information is not necessarily the answer, but it's the beginning of asking the right questions. And at a young age, when Kyle came to the meeting with me, I just thought that he had very sort of effortlessly assumed that role with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. So at the time, it was about trying to get another smart mind into our Maple Leafs organization. And then the rest was really up to Kyle, whether or not he would grow to be ready for this next step, and I felt that he has.
He was just talking about the prospect of dealing with people who have been in this game longer than he's been alive, and he kind of looked back to his time with Sault Ste. Marie and dealing with a guy like Sherry Basson, and said, I think the quote was, they act like they're trying to be your friends, but really they're trying to pick your pocket. What do you think of that? I mean, there's some guys that are very experienced that he's going to go up against. You obviously have confidence that he can sit across the table from those guys and deal.
I do, and I would say people would underestimate Kyle if they just look at his birth certificate. I think that he's a humble, hardworking, smart person who has good relationships in the game with other hockey officials, other people in management, scouts and the like, because he is an open-minded, respectful person. But he's as comfortable sitting in office with some of our R&D guys as he is sitting in the office with Lou or Cliff Fletcher and hearing stories from them. And I think he has an appreciation for both. So, it is a competitive world out there. I think that he's been at the hockey game at a young age, but he's still relatively inexperienced. But I think that he's more experienced certainly than people give him credit for if all they look at is his birth certificate.
Remember most about that first 9 hour or however long the meeting was with Kyle?
That we had to go to dinner. We went to a pizza place called Il Paisano's where I used to go in high school. It was out there on the Browns line. It's good pizza. That's I have to eat or I just can't I can't work. So it was a long afternoon. Went into the evening, and again I just we just had a good conversation about the game and. Like I said, it was just something at a certain point in that meeting where I just thought we will be a better organization if this young man becomes a part of it.
He said the hardest work is still to come here. Where do you see the franchise at right now? What's the biggest challenge, do you think, moving forward in the next couple of months?
Well, I think for all NHL teams, it's certainly a challenge to become a good team, and then if you want to take that next step to be a great team, it's even harder. It's for the golfers out there. It's like the difference between getting your handicap down to a 12, and then once you get down to there, it's to knock one stroke off. And I don't golf, but it's just to become the best at anything. as you get closer to being the best, I think it takes more time. The decisions become more difficult, and there's more on the line. So I think that's what he's saying when he says that the hardest work is still ahead of us, and it's true. It's I said 3-4 years ago when we started down this path that even the teams at the time that were winning Stanley Cups go through difficulties and strife every day, and they're not walking down the sidewalks clicking their heels. It is hard to become a good team, and it's even harder to stay a good team, and we still have a ways to go.
You mentioned that you phoned Mark and let him know, obviously, that he did want the job, but he didn't get it. What was his reaction to that news?
Mark was a pro. I mean, Mark is, like as I said earlier, Mark does a lot for this organization. He's qualified to do this job, and so it was difficult to have that conversation with him. But I think I don't want to put words in his mouth. I think he's at least happy that it was Kyle that was going to get it. They have a lot of respect for each other, but certainly disappointed because Mark is very qualified. Mark does way more for this organization than people realize, and has done, and is as responsible as anybody for its growth. But certainly he was disappointed, and I think that we'll all circle back as an organization in the coming days and sort of start talking about the future.
When you look at the way you structure things, I mean, you think back to that meeting 4 years ago. You had Lou Lamoriello you signed him to a 3-year contract, and you bring Kyle in. Was the plan all along that if it works out, he would succeed Lou and take this job at this time?
I think it's important to try to have foresight, but at the same time, you have to reassess where you are and what you're doing, every day, every week. So by no means are you bound to anything, but I do think it's important to try to at least have some sort of foresight and some planning. And then when the time comes, I don't think you rely on old judgments, but you reassess and make a decision at that moment. So this wasn't about an idea or a decision that was made 3-4 years ago. There is a lot that has gone on between now and then that got me and Kyle to the table yesterday to hammer out a deal for him to be our next GM.
Just kind of add on that, during that 9-hour meeting, at any point did you think, okay, this guy's going to be an NHL GM, whether it's with us or eventually in the very near future? Did that click right away?
I think at the time what I just really thought was that this was somebody that was going to help our organization, and I needed help. I was looking for help, and it was more than just Kyle. But at the time I was just focused on taking our first steps as an organization. I would say it was shortly after that, as I observed him over the next year, where I thought, at some point he's going to be a GM in this league.
What do you like about what the dynamic might be like between him and Mike?
Well, I think Mike loves to be energized with ideas and loves to be challenged and loves to challenge you. And I think that there are a lot of people outside of our organization that sort of make very simple assessments of who each person is and what they must believe in. And I think they maybe underestimate how much back and forth our management team does have. So I've seen Mike and Kyle work well together in the past and throw ideas back and forth. And they're both people with strong opinions and both people with a lot of respect for each other. So talk to Mike. Mike's very happy with the decision and really looking forward to getting to work with Kyle.
How unique is the relationship between a GM and a coach when it comes to the GM acquiring players and the coach playing players, and the relationship between choosing who they want?
Well, again, I'll refer back to Lou on this. Lou, I thought one thing that really impressed me about Lou, and even hearing about some of his days in New Jersey, was the balance that he had as a general manager in acquiring players and including the coach in that decision process. And I think that's the way it is. It's a general manager can acquire players, but getting the coach on board and getting a coach's input is important because it's a partnership. Coach has to have trust and faith, or the player's not going to get on the ice. So it is a dance, and I think that Lou Lou has done it really well over the years, and I saw him do it here. And it's about including Mike in the information process, not always agreeing with Mike, but making sure that he is heard.